Hello and welcome to this third program on insourcing. We're still talking about situations. And now we're going to talk about the liturgy. 3 questions we need to answer in everything we shoot. Number 1, who was there? Number 2, what happened? And number 3, what was said? So let's begin here with some general things. The first thing we always need to get is a general shot, a full shot, as best as possible, to show how many people were there. Of course, the priests were there, so it's always good to get shots like this to document the fact that these priests and all the other priests who were in the video or were in the ceremony are there. This is a good place at the end of the Mass to see exactly who is there. Position your camera there. We're using our monopod here, so we get a little bit of height. And that way, at least for documentary purposes, we can see clearly all the priests who are there. Now watch this. We're pulling the crowd in here, and you can see that when you come up behind them, they get rather distracted and they look over to see who is shooting. It's always best to take shots like this, coming up at them, so that way they see you coming and they don't look over at you. They may turn their eyes towards you, but you're not really distracting them, and they're not surprised to see you coming. So always go at the people rather than come up from behind them. Go for details too when you're shooting Mass. They can be, or any ceremony, they can be good fun. Now, we're shooting a profession here, so this is what happened. This is a profession, obviously. Don't worry too much about wobbles in the camera, because as you can see there in slow-mo, we can kind of get rid of a lot of the wobbles. But we're documenting here what went on. Now, this is a general shot. We're up in the sanctuary, a place we should rarely go, but we are there now, and we have the general shot, and here we have our detailed shot to show who was there, who was in the actual ceremony. And what was said is also important when we're covering liturgical ceremonies. So get the homily, place your tripod in a convenient position, get a head to elbows shot, leave the tripod in a locked off position during the homily so that you're not up there distracting the people. Make sure you have enough battery and tape in your machine. Notice here where we've placed our dedicated mic. Now we're going to have some fun. It's always good to talk to photographers so they don't do what this guy's doing here. Absolutely terrible. So speak with your photographer friends beforehand, so make sure they're always on the same side. This is more fun here too. We're going to show you this brother. I'm sure Brother Williamson will be very happy that we've blotted his face out of most of this shot. He's on the same side as the camera. Now this is always the camera side, so the altar server should not be there, because as you can see, he gets totally in our way, causing us to jump all over the place with our camera, and that's not particularly good. You could compare that with this. In this scene, the altar server, the acolyte, is on the other side, so that when these people do come up to give the gifts, he's certainly not in our way, and he's just as helpful. Of course, if there is an old lady, well, it's always good to be at the old lady's side and help her come up the steps and things. That is not the case. In this particular instance, we have a sprite young person there, so she's perfectly capable of getting up and down the steps all by herself. So before a ceremony, always talk with the photographers and talk also to the altar servers so that you know that everything's going to turn out okay. Now we're going to talk about visits. When somebody visits a center, we need footage of that person in that place. For the sake of this example, we're using Father Alvaro in a visit he made to Our Lady of Guadalupe. So always show the person in the actual place. Remember to wear your suit and to speak with other photographers beforehand so that you can work together. Here are a few things to remember. Keep the shots open and steady. Don't be zooming in on people. When our guest is greeting people, a shot like this from this angle is usually the best, but you can alternate shots, doing your best to keep greeter and greeted within your shot. Keep your distance and never ever crowd the guest. During visits, after a meal for example, it is possible that the guest will say a few words, and in these cases it may not be possible to give the man a dedicated mic for the recording. So in these cases what we have to do is just use the camera mic and position ourselves rather close without running around. Well, in our next little clip, we'll be talking to you about documenting the daily life, the everyday life of your community, of your apostolate, of your centre. And it's pretty interesting. Until then, bye.